everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, I'm very happy to bring back my returning guest, friend, and colleague, Joan Widen. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Joan Widen always had a sense of knowing. She would see and hear spirits and have vivid dreams and premonitions. That was her normal. Though not fully understanding her gifts as the years passed, she felt there was more to discover about who she really was and needed to seek out her purpose. Her efforts to better understand her talents have led her to develop and expand her skills as an intuitive life coach, Reiki master teacher, pranic and crystal healer, feng shui consultant, house office clearing specialist, and she performs mediumship. Joan is able to help you to connect with past loved ones and clear energy blocks to help you move forward with purpose so you can achieve what you want out of life. Joan is also the host of the Journey with Joan podcast every Friday night at 9 p.m. EST or 6 p.m. PST. All of the links are featured below in the description. Please do check us out, subscribe to our channels, leave us some comments, like my videos, and please do share my content with your friends. And you can now join my channel to take advantage of my perks. So without further ado, I will bring on Joan. Hi, Joan. How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back. Welcome
Oh,
back.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So for those of you who haven't caught the last few podcasts, I was away on the coast in BC looking after what I affectionately call my feral 5-year-old twin granddaughters. It was fabulous. We had so much fun. It was just so, so great. But I'm back and back in the saddle. And I want to tell you, Joan, something funny. Before I flew over there, I had mentioned to you when we were in a private conversation that I was nervous about flying. And you said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I've checked with my guides. You're going to be fine. You've got an important message for this world. Nothing's going to happen to you." And I went, "Oh, thank you. Thank you." And it made me feel a lot better. And then on the day to fly out, I went to the airport and they discovered that the two right wheels were about to fall off on the plane. They had to change the tires and it was last minute. And so we had to wait for like 2 hours longer. And finally, they changed the tires and then they drove the plane, taxied it around and around and
Yeah, just
around.
to make sure.
Yeah, to make sure that the tires were good before we took off, which I'm kind of glad they did, just to be on the safe side. But then on the way flying back, that it was really weird. And this is WestJet, just for those of you who are interested. Uh, so on the way back, so the captain comes on. He says, "Oh, just want to let everybody know we'll be starting the right engine before we even pull out to taxi to the runway. This is nothing unusual. We just are going to kickstart the right engine." And I thought, well, that's weird, but I'm hoping he knows what he's doing, right?
Yep.
So but the fumes were pouring into the cabin because of this engine running. I don't know exactly why, but eventually we do our takeoff and we fly and everything's pretty good. And then they land back in Calgary and they don't let us off the plane and they don't let us off the plane. And we wait a whole hour and they still don't let us off the plane. And then the captain comes on. He says, "Yeah, well, you may have noticed we've had to keep the right engine running. We can't shut it off because we kind of had to jump start it to get it going, and we don't want to shut it off. But we are having a dispute with the ground crew, and they are feeling it's unsafe to disembark the passengers before we shut it off. So now we have to look at a way of shutting that engine off, and then we have to find an alternative power source before we can unload you." So we were like an hour and a half waiting to get off the plane. And I thought, what the hell? Like, these are both Boeing jets, by the way. And I'm going, what the heck, is going on that both there and back, there's all these problems. And, and I don't know. I'm not trying to make people afraid of flying. I'm just letting you know that, I mean, everything was okay. But to me, that was very, very poor customer service. Yeah. So That's probably where my nervousness came from.
Or you can look at it as, see, your guides were taking care of you to let you know that they were on top of making sure it was safe before it was in the air.
Yeah, I mean, if we had tried to land without them changing those tires, there's a chance we could have wiped out, you know? So
Yeah,
yeah. And they just sort of discovered it by off chance moments before we were supposed to load. So yeah, you could be quite right, Joan.
right? Like
So
they're just going, oh, Karen's on this flight. We better double check.
mhm.
She'll
Yep.
never get on an
Well,
airplane again if something falls off.
well, the funny thing about it is, I know I have some amazing psychic skills and stuff, but I don't really think of myself as being special or protected or anything more than anybody else. But the evidence seems to be there, and I'm grateful for it, whatever it is and why ever it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, but it's one
Yeah.
of those things where you're like, okay, all right. But yeah, it might have been just a check in to make sure. You know what I mean? Like just to
Hmm.
give you some peace of mind or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So what's new with you, Joan? What have you been up to? I know that you have kids and all kinds of sports and stuff, but
Yes.
is there anything else that's new that you want
Well,
to tell everybody before we kind of get into it today?
really too much, like doing the same thing. It's still snowing, which I thought it wasn't, but it's still
Yeah.
snowing. And so it was spring and now it's winter again. Um, but other than that, really like just doing the podcast, have, getting some new clients, and sometimes a little bit they have been pushing more. Do you know what I mean? Like they're really stuck in their ways. And
Mhm.
the last healing I did, I was told I needed to break down their whole complete being because they had done, like, so they've been meditating for like 40 years. But they're not getting anywhere. They're all this kind of spiritual, but yet they're just not doing anything. Do you know what I mean? They're not
Yeah.
experiencing anything, right? And so it's
So
so I
it
got
appears that they're putting in the work, but they're not getting the results that they want. Is
that's
that what you're
correct.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah, and most times it's not really um it's because they're in their own way. They're expecting to get on a ship and fly out to the mother ship because they've done all this work and it's not happening. So then it must be total bunk,
Mhm. All or
right?
nothing thinking. Yeah.
Right. And so they're getting disappointed and feeling kind of taken advantage of, if you will. Meanwhile,
Mhm.
it's not, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So again, it's
Yeah,
it's letting go of the
just
expectations so you can fly.
yeah. It's common for people to have discouragement and even stagnation. I put together a whole course to help people to raise their frequency so that they could have more results in their spiritual realm, more the way I do or the way you do. And it
Yeah.
was interesting, although people don't have to be perfect, a lot of them are clinging to the old ways of the old world, and they don't want to put anything into making the kind of changes so that they can hold the frequency. Now, again, I don't want to make it sound like you have to be some perfect kind of spiritual person. Oops, I just want to stop and say hi to Denise. Hi,
Yes.
Denise. Lovely to
Hi,
have you
Denise.
with us today. Um, it's not like you have to be a monk, you know what I mean?
No, and
But
that's exactly
but we
it.
do need but we do need to evolve and put away, sometimes our pettiness or our bad habits or I feel in my life, and this is just speaking for me, and you can let me know if you agree or disagree, Joan. I feel that in my life, I have to constantly be taking baby steps forward, 2 steps forward, one back, 2 steps forward, one back, so that I can look at my life over a year and see progress. If I can look over 2 years, I see, wow, way more progress. If I look over 5 years, I can see a huge amount of progress. And if we're not progressing, there's a problem. And sometimes, and I'm not trying to blame the victim here or make it sound like it's people's fault. But there seems to be
But it is.
an internal kind of dialogue that we need to be listening to so that we're progressing. Anyway, I'll zip it and let you put
No,
how
like,
do you feel about that?
but you're right. Like, you don't want to say that they're the victim, but at the same time, they're the ones that are standing in their own way, right? So they're
Yeah,
not able to progress, and it's because they've decided they've done all the work and there's no more work to be done. And so why should they do any other work? But it's the sameness and the expecting of the sameness. What does that beget you? The same.
same. Exactly. Exactly.
Right? So when you step out of yourself and go, okay, all right, let's meditate. And it was quite interesting because they were really upset that the fact that their guides weren't talking to them. And
Hmm.
I'm like, well, I feel like it's not that they're not talking to you. You just aren't understanding how, like, to receive it. And he goes,
Yeah.
well, but that's bullshit because I'm doing the work and they're the enlightened people. They know how to communicate with me. And so therefore, they're not communicating with me.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Well, good
okay,
luck with that.
but it's a two-way street, is what I said. I
Hmm.
said, I could just
Hmm.
be blah, 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 right? Like you and I. You could just be talking and I'll just sit in here, right? It could appear like I'm listening, but I'm not, right? And if I'm like blabbing, like, one of the two
Hmm.
of us can get, and
Hmm.
you could be appear to be listening, but it's not getting through. And it's not because we don't know how to communicate. Maybe it's because I'm not speaking, not even a language, but not speaking in a way where you can interpret it for you and where it
Yeah.
can make an impact directly for you, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But again,
Denise, sorry, Denise says, you'll keep getting the same results unless we change ourselves from within. And I agree 100%, Denise. And the other thing too is it's about raising our frequency. So I'll give you an example from my own life. When I get caught up in watching too many YouTubes about American or Canadian politics, that I feel my energy just sinks. Like I definitely have less spiritual awareness when I spend too much time thinking about that. But then when I pull my head out of my butt and I go, wait a minute, what's important here? The bigger picture is we know for a fact that those of us who spend time in the right frequency change ourselves, we change the world around us. That is a really good way that I can contribute to global matters rather than getting anxious and watching
absolutely.
all this political stuff. So, and then like even this morning, I turned off the news shows and I put on 432 hertz binaural beats music. I had my cats on the bed with me. I was sitting, cross-legged in a meditative state. I didn't think about anything. I just gave myself over to the music. And pretty soon I could feel my body pulling in the energy from the earth. I could feel my crown chakra pulling in the energy from my higher realms. I could feel the energy actually going out to the cats. And I had one on each cat, and they started to purr like they knew that something was going on. And then I just sent that out, to the world. And not only did I feel super peaceful and very relaxed and very good, the cats enjoyed it. and I'm making a positive contribution. Now, we're told this is all hocus pocus, woo woo, wishful thinking. But no, there is enough scientific evidence proving this is real stuff, and it's powerful.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I did. And I felt amazing after, 20 minutes of that. And so, well, I'm going to wait a second till you're done. But I want to tell you about, I had actually a transdimensional experience last night or early.
Ooh. But
Yeah,
okay, can I just add to what you were just talking about? How
yeah,
you're so
please do. Take as much time as you want.
for like this, like the sciencey stuff, right? It just reminded me because I see a butterfly behind you, right? A
Hmm.
butterfly, if they flutter their wings a certain, like a different way or a different vibration, it can cause major weather, like
Weather
different
events.
weathers.
Yeah,
And it's like, so how can our thoughts not do the same when it's the same kind of energy?
absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's called butterfly effect, right?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And then tied into that is the whole quantum physics thing where how we observe something actually puts a spin on how it actually is. And I had a really cool thing happen to me. I had a gentleman from Ontario reach out, and he just finished reading my book, actually both
Right,
books. And he's been doing a lot of study about transdimensional phenomenon and frequency related stuff. And he actually, and I think he's right, said that he thinks it's a trans frequency phenomenon rather than transdimensional. Transdimensional is like other realms that we
right.
can't necessarily see, but excuse me, but it's all boils down to frequency and how and the kind of frequency we're able to hold and the kind of frequency that we're able to operate on. And what I love about it is he very much confirmed everything in my book as saying absolutely possible, and he understands the science on how it happens. I'm going to have him on the Aliens and Angels show in early May, and we're going to talk about it. And so then I've been just telling him a few things that come up for me, and it confirms what he knows. And so it's really interesting how we seem to be doing this community building amongst all of us that are on the same page. We may not be exactly the same, doing it exactly the same way, but we get it that it's all really super important, right?
Mm,
And so that was really cool too. I didn't expect that. But then on the other hand, I had a fella email me, and he wanted me to put him in touch with the tall grays for healing. And I said, well, I don't have direct contact with the tall grays. He says, yeah, but I've read your book. I know that you can contact them on my behalf. And I had to say to him, sir, with all due respect, you need to contact them on your own behalf and reach out and make that happen for yourself. Like people, we're used to going to the doctor and having the doctor make all the decisions for us,
right.
or the dentist or whatever. No, we need to start making contact and putting in the effort ourselves to deal directly.
Absolutely. Like what the book did for him was you actually introduced him to it. Now he has to follow up that introduction and what's it called on his behalf. Like he has to speak up on his own behalf to
Hmm.
say, hey, Bob, nice to meet you. I'm glad I met you in Karen's book. I would love it if you could introduce me to the tall grays so that
Hmm.
you could heal me, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, yeah. No, you're right.
Hmm.
Everything, it's all about interconnectedness, but it's also about standing up for yourself and advocating for you. If that's something what you want, you actually have to go and get it. You have
Hmm.
to like I said, your book made the introduction. The next part is
Well,
up
that
to
was the
him.
thing. Exactly. That's what it was for. It was to show people what's possible. It's to
Right.
show them, that you don't have to be a special kind of person to have these experiences. That we all have them. Just most of us push them off as being imaginings. Like, for instance, if you have like this really vivid dream experience, rather than writing it out and figuring out what the message is for yourself or what you learned or what happened, we just go, oh, that was just a dream, and go get a cup of coffee, forget about it. And so we're having these experiences, I think, all the time. And I think we're having them on our peripheral of our perception in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Little, I don't know about you, Joan. Tell me if it's the same for you. But when I get a directive from my higher self or my spiritual guides, whatever you want to call it, it's a subtle voice, and I often ignore it. I often ignore it because I think, oh no, I'm not going to need that or whatever. And then it turns out I should have listened. That was exactly what I needed. So I'm wondering, hang on just a sec. Sorry. I'm just wondering if, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I was looking at Denise's comment here. She says, still waiting for Rob to mail my book. He's super busy. Denise, I don't know if you have my email. It's down below, or you can email me through my website. And, give me your first and last name in an email. And I'm actually contacting Rob right now, and I'll ask him about your book, okay, so that you get it. And Denise also says, yes, it's subtle, but it's there. So
Yes.
is it subtle for you, Joan? Is it
Um,
kind of
it
like
depends. It
okay.
depends because it's subtle, but it's also strong. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it kind of subtly sneaks in, but then it's strong. And if
Mm-hmm.
I go, and I don't listen to it, later it almost feels like they slapped you in the
Yeah.
face, and you're going, and it's like, see, I told you to listen. And now you just went around 2 blocks only to
Yeah.
get. So look how much faster you would have gotten to point B had you had listened,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
You
You know what I
know,
mean? Like they're funny
yeah.
when they say that, but it also is holy crap. And now I realize for me, it's taken a few to go, yeah, okay, yep, I'll listen now.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, though, I get it as a very strong sensation too. Like one time, I was going to cross a really busy street in Victoria, and I just got like being kicked in the gut, like a strong, huge emotional reaction that made me go, "Whoa," and pause. And it just said, "Wait." And then a bus came flying out of nowhere, and I would have got creamed by a bus if I hadn't
Yeah,
had that
right?
warning. So sometimes it is like that. Other times, like I can be dealing with someone and they give no clues that they're sketchy, but my gut's kind of whirring around going, Karen, be careful. And then I
Subtle, like
used,
strong.
yeah, and I used to just kind of give the person the benefit of the doubt. And basically what I used to do is um try to convince myself that I'm imagining that. I have no evidence to support that. Why would I be thinking that? Give them the benefit of the doubt. That's what I would want them to do for me. But what I was really doing is gaslighting myself. And since I've stopped gaslighting myself, I'm happier. Okay, if I make a mistake that errs on the side of caution, fine.
That's
Fine.
okay.
So what, right?
You
It's
can fix
okay.
it. It
Mm-hmm.
can be fixed still, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can invite them back again. There's so many different things that can happen that way, right? And
Mm-hmm.
again, the more often, the stronger but subtle it is. Like, again, because they can't take away your free will,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep. So true.
it's still up to us to make the choice to listen
Mm-hmm.
versus, yeah, because that could have been, as we call it, an exit point for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Another exit point for you.
Mhm.
Had you chose not to listen, that could have been your exit point to leave this earth at that time.
Mhm. Well, not I don't know. Like it may be, but I'm not going
No, you're not
anytime
going
soon.
anywhere,
I got
but
stuff
that's
to
the
do. I
thing.
got
Like you
tons of stuff
listened,
to do. Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's why you listened, because it was like, well, wait, I have more things to do. And that was before your book, was it not?
Oh yeah, definitely
Right? So
before.
then
But what was
they're going, you
interesting,
need to blow the lid on this ET stuff so that it's more down to earth and it's not as scary and
yeah.
um, like to be feared, like how you've introduced, like the ETs, how they're actually not terrible beings. The ones that, do you know
No.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but there are powers here on Earth that want us to be terrified and want to set things up so that, if it isn't them setting us up as wanting to be afraid of a different nationality of human, it's they want us to be afraid of ETs. They want us to be like, I'm
right?
tired of all that nonsense. If we can't get along as humans, how are we going to get along with ET? But the whole the whole thing is, and what I try to bring out in my book too, is that they're not that different than us, and they care and they have feelings. Like you hear all kinds of people talk about ETs as not having any emotions. That's why they have the hybrid. I've actually never seen
But
evidence
that
of a
doesn't make
hybrid, but
sense,
no.
because if they had no emotions, how would they be
Hmm.
able to connect with us? Because a
Hmm.
lot of their how they speak to us and how they communicate with us is through the empathetic system and through
Absolutely.
like emotion. So that doesn't make any sense to me that they're not empathetic
Hmm.
beings. And
Hmm.
really, and I don't know why this came to me the one like a while ago. Actually, probably like on Friday, because when I was doing my podcast, I kind of someone was like, well, how do you mean we're always okay? Well, we're always okay. If you think about it, like we are beings living on this rock, flying in a universe that's rotating over around a sun, and we have a moon that helps, you know, um, deal with our water, right? Like helps
Hmm.
with the tides. It helps with our bodies because we're also made of 90% water. All these
Hmm.
things, but yet when we really knock it down to a ton of things, we are okay. Like we aren't flying through the air. We have lots of things. There's lots of beautiful things.
Yeah.
The trees are like our ancestors. Where did they come from? Even the octopus,
Hmm.
because apparently it came from an asteroid fly, and when an octopus egg was stuck on this asteroid and it landed in the ocean, and now that's why we have octopus
There's a
or
lot of people
octopi.
that actually that study, yeah, I don't know if it's octopi or octopuses, but there's a lot of people that study them, and they are more intelligent than some humans. They're so smart. And that's why they actually think that they might even be a form of ET that resettled here.
Well, yeah,
So,
like they actually said there's a scientific knowing that their being came to be on Earth because they hitched a ride from an asteroid from who knows where, and then they came. And also, they said that all of their limbs have their own brains.
yeah, intelligence. Well, another thing too, it is possible that ET brought octopus as a pet, and introduced them that way too. So, I mean, I know this all sounds kind of silly, but it's not. Like what we're told is so wrong. Newtonian physics, and this is how everything happened, and humans have only been alive for 6,000 years, and on and on and on it goes. Everything we're taught in school, we're finding out, no, none of that is right. But
They
people
don't
who
really know,
have,
to be honest.
no, they don't. And so, um, I kind of like the funky, weird, different ways of explaining things because at least we could be closer to the truth than, the textbooks and the encyclopedias. There are lost civilizations that we're finding out about now. They just recently found out that there are these structures below the pyramids that are more than 2 kilometers down
Right?
into the ground, and on and on and on it goes. And all of that was hidden and hushed up. So, I mean, I think you're right. There's so much amazing stuff if we just pull our minds out of the drama and start looking at all the exciting stuff and the nature that surrounds us and form nice relationships with people that bring joy. I sure love being with my grandchildren, I'm telling you. And I know you spend a lot of time with your children, and it's so rewarding. There's just so much we can do. Anyway, I didn't mean to take you off topic. Um, was there anything else you wanted to delve into before I switch subjects?
Well, no, I just wanted to say that, yeah, like really, as humans, humanoids, if you want to call it, we have to remember our roots. We have to come back within and
Mhm.
be more present so we can awaken. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh
because
yeah.
everyone's like, no, no, I'm present, I'm present. But I could walk up behind someone who says they're present and go boo, and they would be like, what? How could you be present if you don't hear every little subtlety, every move? Because literally, you should be able to hear the whispers in the wind,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? If you're fully present, because you could feel it within your body, and everything is just so
Mm-hmm.
connected that
Mm-hmm.
um, there wouldn't be anything that would take you off guard, essentially. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there again, sometimes it means shutting off the screen time. I sometimes put my phone in another room and put it on vibrate so I don't hear it. Just to take scheduled breaks from it, right?
You
So
know, I have
what?
been doing that a lot more lately. I've just been putting it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been finding I've been picking up my phone only just to play games a lot. And I went, I don't need to be doing this. One, the vibration and the frequency is toxic for us. So I would put it in another room and people are like, well, this is weird that why aren't you responding right away? Well, I don't need to respond right away. And if it really was that
Oh,
important, I could pick it up. I could,
yeah.
I would understand, and I would, instead of just texting you, I would call you and say, "Hey, what's wrong? What's up?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you
it's
do not want to
really
be
for
a
us
slave.
to just pick up.
You don't want to be a slave to technology, not at
Nah,
all. No. Um,
no,
Joan, I'm going to just take a really quick break to play an ad for my books. When
you
I
betcha.
come back, let's switch into the interdimensional healing and talk a bit about how we're able to send healing vibes out to the audience. And then maybe you
Okay,
and I could do a little healing
sounds
together,
good.
send that out to the listeners and the viewers and help bring
Absolutely,
joy into their lives. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to do a quick 2 minute, and then we'll be right back.
sounds
Learn
good.
the stunning details about ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living and expressing spirituality, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, meet the new neighbors, introduces you to many different ET beings, the healing pods, the interior of the big ship, my orientation process, cultural events, and off-world mating practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about the big ship, intergalactic and transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. Once I published my first book, I felt the need to create a second book called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Greys Picture Book. I worked with AI to develop many images of beings that we have come to know of as the Greys. These beings come from many places, realms, dimensions, and timelines, and although they are of the same species as other humanoids, they are from many different family lines and races. What qualifies them as grays is that their skin does not contain the pigment necessary to reflect light in our visible range of the color spectrum, so to us, they all appear to be various shades of gray. Beyond this physical attribute, there is much diversity in their origins, cultures, purposes, and physiological details. My goal is to get you used to the looks of beings which are different than humans in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy these images and notice the things we have in common so you will see that although they are different from us in appearance, we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of both books are now available on Amazon worldwide. Search the Amazon and Kindle bookstores and pick up your copies today. And we're back. Okay, so interdimensional healing. So basically, please feel free to add anything you want to this, Joan, but I'll just start it off by saying that time and space are a bit of an illusion. And we
Yeah.
are all connected. We're all connected. Everything in our universe is connected. And so that allows us to do remote healing online and have it go to where it's meant to go. And I know that sounds funny, but it's almost like the healing has its own sense of intelligence on who it needs to go to and who it needs to help. Joan, do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. And it's whereas some people think that healing is, and again, I'm not a medical doctor or a medical practitioner or a psychologist or anything like that, but I've known from my experience is that when I work through energetic healing, interdimensional healing, it's working on a different, it feels like it's a different realm almost. Even though the person is sitting here, it's like healing your past in order to completely heal or be healed in the present day moment. And then so when you decide to do a healing here and now, you're deciding that you want to help your ancestors heal. And once they heal, then the future changes for you. Like it's so many different things like that. And again, it's so interwoven that you just don't think that it really makes a difference. So a lot of times some people go, I don't feel anything, like feel anything, but it's not necessarily that you're meant to feel it now. It could be it's because your future and your future and your future children and your future grandchildren and all of those have changed because you decided to do the work right here, right now. If that makes sense for you.
Yeah, it makes sense for me for sure. And sometimes what'll happen is we may not feel anything or be
Yeah,
conscious of anything, and then we'll go out and be carrying on our life, and all of a sudden we'll go, "Whoa, wait a minute, feels better. That thing that was bothering me seems to be better. Isn't that weird? Is it a
right,
coincidence?" Or
right,
or is that a synchronicity or what? I don't know, but I'm happy about it. Or some other coincidental type stuff.
right. Or you're
Happen, and we
stronger.
go, "Wait a minute, it's different here." And it's subtle, and then we add, I think like if a person has one session with you, they would get a certain benefit, but then you add 2 or 3 sessions, they're gonna
Yes.
compile and intensify that.
And
And
it just changes
yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
totally,
right. Like
totally.
some people don't necessarily feel the effect instantaneous, but it could happen like a week later or even a few
Mhm,
days later. And you don't think, right, to correlate it to anything. And as a spiritual person, all you have to do is say thank you
mhm,
instead of
mhm,
going, no, it's a coincidence, like pushing it off, brushing it off. Because when we brush
mhm,
things off, it's when we really just, you know, we really just, we dismiss the universe, we dismiss spirit that tells us that we were able to change within ourselves. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Totally, totally does. So I'm just wondering, I see on the live chat we have Rudy. Hi, Rudy. Nice to see you. And we
Hi,
also have
Rudy.
Denise. So how about if we start by sending some healing energy to
Sure.
Rudy and Denise?
All right.
They don't have to tell us any personal information. Let's do it together and see how that goes. I've got my
Okay.
wand here. It's black tourmaline and selenite, and
Right.
I'm just going to well, yeah,
Okay.
I guess I wonder, does it go that way or that way? Because the camera projects it as
You know
backwards.
what?
Matter.
It doesn't matter. However you
Okay.
feel it should go, it will.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I,
Yeah.
it's us being human and overthinking.
Okay. So to Rudy and Denise, we're
Okay.
sending you some energy rooted in love and gratitude.
Yeah.
And I'm just going towards the camera with my wand. And Joan, please feel free to add anything, impressions, or anything you want to add to this.
Okay. So the first thing I got was to work around the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's, I don't necessarily think it's like necessarily heart issues, but it's more about the emotion and allowing all past experiences to leave. Do you know what I mean? So that our body and mind can be fully connected. But I do feel like that is the key to help feel like life is better. I don't know, like for some reason I feel like, I don't know if life feels like it hasn't really done you guys justice lately, but that is what it feels like to me. Yeah.
I'm feeling little bit of resistance again. I think it's in their heart chakra.
Yeah.
And I'm just sending very gentle love and gratitude to help fill up not just Denise and Rudy, but also anybody who is listening to this as an audio podcast or watching it as a replay. Um, there's no time and space, those are illusions.
Right.
And
Okay.
so,
Huh. And I kind of feel like there's a cleansing effect. Do you know what
mm-hmm,
I mean? And maybe it's because it's now spring,
mm-hmm.
that they want you to remember, like, so the rain and the new blooms and the new buds on the trees are a reminder for you to know that it's a new cycle for you, it's a new way of being, and to remember that it's now changed for you.
So, those of you who are feeling some kind of connection, please leave us a comment in the chat and let us know how this energy may be affecting you or maybe helping you. I think it would be lovely to get some feedback. And while I have you all here, I also, Joan, can you tell people a little bit more about your show? I'd really like them to come and
Sure.
join you on Friday night because
Okay.
I think they'll get a lot out of it. You run a great show. I find it
Thank you.
very interesting always.
All right. Right before I get into that, I also got here like to get you more, like, work on the root chakra to get more grounded, to be more rooted in oneself and seated. Okay. Okay, so my podcast is anything spiritual. It's 6 p.m. specific or Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's on YouTube, X, and Facebook. What else? And you can listen to it on Spotify. So it's on the Bold Brave TV network. I also have a link to it on my YouTube, my own YouTube, which is Joan Widen Clairvoyant Medium, and you can look at that on one of my playlists. So last week we talked about being present and getting out of the way of yourself and really getting back down to the basics, getting the basics down to who you are and starting again with your spirituality. Because even though we've done it so many times, it becomes mundane and it becomes like we get into a rhythm, and sometimes that rhythm we've picked up bad habits. We've picked up all these different things and we don't realize it because this is just how we do it. And we've been doing it for 20 years. So it was more about getting back to the basics, get down to the root of things and start over again. Like, remember how you started to do it. What are some of the bad habits that you have created? Is there expectations? Is there expectations usually don't help you. They actually inhibit you from growing because we try and try and control our outcome. Like we go, I need spirit to do it this way. And that's not necessarily how spirit works. Yes, spirit wants to give us everything. The universe wants to give us whatever we want. However, it's not on our terms.
Mm-hmm.
It's however they deliver it is how they're going to deliver it. And when we as humans decide, okay, so most people, I'm going to say, are looking for their soulmate or a love of their life because they're going, I don't want to be alone. Okay, so now what happens is they end up going, okay, so he's got to be like that song, trust fund. Do you know what I mean? I can't, like, 6'2", trust fund, whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, that's fine if you want those things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come in that order, right? It can come
Mm-hmm.
in like, it can start off at M and then go to A and then go to Y and then go back to N and then C, right? Like it can bounce any which way. And the reason being is, remember, it's not just about you. The other person that you're calling in has to be in an alignment with you. And once that starts to be in alignment with you, it's going to happen the way it happens. And it's not necessarily going to be A to Z. And so
Mm-hmm.
I like to remind some people that when it absolutely has to be A to Z for you, you are
Mm-hmm.
probably going to miss out on the opportunity to meet this person. And only
Mm-hmm.
because you are controlling and needing to do it in a certain way for it to happen. Because if it doesn't go from A to Z like you want, you'll be like, nope,
Mm-hmm.
this person's not the right person. This person isn't my person.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being, present, fully aware, and then listening and seeing everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Again,
Yep, it's
like
not
I
a
said, a lot of
linear.
people like to say, I want this person, and they expect, let's say, Prince Charming or the princess to knock on their door and say, hey, I heard you were looking for me. Like,
Mm-hmm. And it's not a linear process. One thing that happened to me when I was younger and was, looking to find someone to spend time with, a companion of sorts. And my spirit guides kind of gave me a little bit of a wake-up call. They said, "Okay, here's your list of everything you're looking for now. Are you the kind of person that person would want to be with?" There has to be a match-up of energy. And I thought that was very, very,
Right.
very good. But then by the time I worked on myself to be the kind of person that I would be a good match for that other person, by that time I realized I really like my single life. I really like the
Well,
freedom I have. So it was funny how it all worked out.
well, and that's typically it because I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you were looking for a companion because you wanted to feel like fill a void. And then
Hmm.
when you decided, when spirit told you that, the universe said, well, are you that person that would want someone to be attracted to you in that way? You went, okay, wait. And then you worked on yourself internally
Yeah, I filled my void.
within, and you filled your own void.
Yeah, I did. I did. I filled my own void. And
Right.
it's really an interesting thing. Like, I have such a wellspring. While I was visiting my daughter last week, she has a friend who goes through withdrawal symptoms if she can't come over and get rejuvenated from being around my daughter. But then when this woman goes home, my daughter's exhausted. And I said to my daughter, she needs to learn how to fill her own wellspring. She needs to learn that. And it is a skill, and you can learn it. So I am so
Absolutely.
full of that wellspring that I have enough to share, but I'm careful who I share it with too, because there are some people that'll just suck you dry, and that's no good either, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. But the thing
Hmm.
is, why would you want to depend on someone else's wellspring when yours is like bubbling up through the ground, only
Yeah,
waiting for you to drink from it?
exactly.
Right?
Exactly, and I think that's the goal, and, so that we can be happy, regardless of our circumstances.
Mhm.
We can be happy, we can feel full and bubbly and full of energy, psychic or spiritual energy. We don't always have
Because the
physical
thing
energy
is,
in this world, but
also, a lot of people have come to me and said, well, you don't know because you're in a relationship. And I'm like,
well, a lot of
that
people are lonely and they're in relationships, Joan. A lot of people.
that's exactly it, right? I'm like, no, because it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship. You can find Mr. Right now, but if you haven't worked on yourself or Mrs. Right, whoever, right? If you haven't worked on yourself, it only takes one instant for them to piss you off and they no longer fill your cup, right? And but the thing
Yep.
is, if you truly love them, it won't matter what they do because you love them no matter what. And you are always full because you are full with you. And
Mhm.
it's different than full of yourself.
Mhm.
There's a
There's another saying, that was good for me to learn, and that was, "Be careful what you wish for, you just might get it." And I'll give you an example. So this is quite a few years ago, and I went, "Oh, I'd really like to have a boyfriend. I want him to be tall, I want him to be handsome, I want him to have broad shoulders. And wouldn't it be great if he lived right across the street, and then I could go see him whenever I wanted?" Well, I'll tell you, less than a month later, I'm at a party and I meet this guy. Turns out he lives across the street from me. He's tall, handsome, broad shoulders. And I was all excited. I thought this was a gift from heaven. And then I started to get to know him. And it, he was the most irritating man I had ever met. And I went, oh my gosh, here I had asked for all the wrong things. And it is so true. Be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. So I think the other part of that is anything that's really worth having is takes time to build, to get to know the person. And and be sure, because I don't know, for me, rushing in just never really was good for
Well,
anything.
and you also like again, it reminds me of that song that's going around Instagram, right? 6-5 trust fund, whatever, all these
Hmm.
things, and you kind of go, well, great, but if they don't have a personality, or like in your case, our case, if they're not spiritually inclined, that's a
Yeah,
big deal, right?
it
Because
is. It
so
is.
what? They're gonna like be part of your life, and all of a sudden they're like, you're gonna, I'm gonna commit you because I don't believe in what you believe. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like
Hmm.
combating with this person all the time. And how does it actually make you full? No, because now all of a sudden you're feeling less than, or you're not
Hmm.
worthy, quote unquote, right? Like it's
Hmm.
all these different things. People just don't realize it's not about money. It's not about necessarily the looks. It's not about, like, don't get me wrong, you have to be attracted to this person still, but
Yeah.
the attractiveness comes from within,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because if their spirit is beautiful, you're going to be attracted to them no matter what,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yep. And another saying that I think is good to mention, and that is, there's a saying that says that a woman who marries for money earns every penny. And you can take that for what it's worth as well. So and I guess vice versa for a man too. But again, it's like what you said, Joan. Are we looking for a spiritually rich life? We need to
Right.
share that with someone else who wants a spiritually rich life, and that has nothing to do with religion. It's just the energy needs to match. Otherwise, and then again, with so many variables today, we really need to address our own wellspring. It's really, really
Absolutely.
important.
We need to drink
Yeah.
from our own fountain of youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
Mm-hmm.
bubbling, it's coming out of the ground, and it's like Old Faithful in what, Yellowstone, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's gonna blow. It's whether or not you appreciate the beauty of what she's giving you. And
Mm-hmm.
also, living spiritually rich does not necessarily equate to lack.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point that out as well,
I
right?
agree. I agree. I wanted to find ways of making money. My guides always said, Karen, you you have no idea. Making money is about as easy as falling out of bed. You have the potential to make all the money you would need and more. You don't have to buy a lottery ticket. You don't have to do any of those things. And it's funny, all I did was fulfill my spiritual goals, like get my book written, get it published, get my channel started. And this is a lot, not an overnight process, any of this. And it all led to the financial reward that allowed me to have a more comfortable life. So that's really, really interesting too.
And
Joan, sorry, we're
and it
coming to
filled
the,
your bucket. It filled
sure
your,
does, sure does. You
sorry, go ahead.
know, my son and his partner took me to the casino for dinner because they have a prime rib night, and
Right?
they wanted to treat me to prime rib. And I was looking at all these people at all these slot machines and stuff, trying to win it big, win it big, win it big. And it didn't have any appeal to me. I'm not saying that I'm better or anything. It just didn't have any appeal to me at all. It's a whole different way of thinking, and it was, and energetically it was a whole different way. But we're coming close to the end of the
Yep.
show, Joan, so I'm just wondering again, do you want to tell people, remind them where they can find you, what
All
you're
right.
up to, what your offerings are in the way of healing and even counseling, and on all the different things that you offer, tell people
Sounds
so
good.
they can hear more about you. And again, everybody, the links will be in the description below. But for those of you on audio, I know you like to hear it said as well.
All right. So you can find me on my website, www.joanwiden.com, and you can fill out a form there, and it gets directly emailed to me. And my offerings are, well, I do private readings. I do also some energetic healings. There's also the aspect of home and office clearing. And I also help people with mind, body, soul coaching. So it's a form of life coaching, but it's also not just figuring out your life, it's aligning your life with your soul's purpose to help you be more enriched for you, instead of reaching these goals and then going, it feels pretty lonely at the top for some reason. So I like to take you through that process, but also take your soul through that process, so that when you're at the top, you're full. You're drinking, like Karen and I had spoke previously, you're drinking from your own fountain of youth. You're drinking from your own wellspring, because it never ends, that wellspring. So, and then you can listen to my podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple, anywhere, Amazon, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, really. Again, like we're here, I'm here every Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, you can find me, and you can find me on X and YouTube, Facebook. Did I say that again? And yeah, so
Instagram.
again, just search for me, DM me. I will respond. It might take a bit longer, but if you email me, I'll get back to you for sure, for sure. Thank you so very much,
Wonderful.
Karen, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's my pleasure too. I always enjoy spending time with you, Joan, and thank you so much for making the time to be on my show today. I want to thank all the people in the live chat today, Denise and Rudy and everybody else that's listening, and I appreciate you all so very much. We've sent out lots of love and healing today to all of you. Leave us a comment. Let us know how that felt for you. And I'm looking forward to having you back, Joan. And I guess that's about it for today. And we'll see you all on Sunday for the Aliens and Angels podcast, Friday night on Joan's show, and of course, next Wednesday for the Quantum Guide show. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional: Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available in Amazon bookstores worldwide. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.